like my favorite tree in the whole world. It has the most tasty crab apples that I've ever had. I mean, I could just eat like 10 or 20 of these things and they really fill you up. It's some kind of ornamental crabapple tree just growing here in a parking lot. And yeah, these things are amazing. They're about 1 inch to 2 inches at most. Here's what I got. Literally like 20 pounds of them right here. And there are still so many in this tree. It's unbelievable. Bright cherry red, perfectly ripe. Incredible tasting crab apples. Literally the best apples I've ever had anywhere ever. These are crab apples.
go past that crazy church up there on stilts, make a right, and if you go past where Swissville High School used to be, you went too far.
Where it used to be, yeah. You have to know where stuff used to be, otherwise you're in trouble.
Sometimes the stories of what used to be can have more meaning than what's actually here now.
The philosopher keeps up at
This is
Pittsburghers
great.
guest routine.
I'm listening to a
As he
podcast
kind of told it
all
different
about
ways.
how to get
It was
around
normally
downtown.
where there used to be that gas station or where there used to be that Italian
Forest
restaurant. And you'd
Hills.
say, yeah, okay, you know, that's kind of funny. But I think in one telling of the joke or somewhere along the line, he said something about, you know, oh yeah, where there used to be that Pizza Hut. And the light went off in my head. And I said, yes, the Pizza Hut.
For Mike, the former Pizza Hut was a beacon of light shining through a thick fog of impossible directions.
Last year,
Because
I had to
here,
meet where the
in his
old
friend's
trader
common
horn
routine, was the one Pittsburghese direction he could give that anyone, regardless of where they're from, could comprehend.
Turn left at the place that used to be a Pizza Hut.
There are two hallmarks of Pizza Hut architecture. One, the whole thing is built out of trapezoids. The windows are trapezoids,
totally
and they're
recognize that.
framed by
There's
this kind of
Sweet Basil's, there's a
trapezoidal
pawn
paneling
shop up
on the
there that
exterior.
used to be a
If
Pizza
you
Hut.
remember
There's
your
like 2 or 3 of them.
a
I think.
trapezoid is a four-sided figure
Everyone knows
with two parallel
a place
sides
that
and
used
two
to be a Pizza
non-parallel
Hut.
sides. It tends to look like a triangle with the top chopped off.
This podcast
You
is
see the trapezoid windows, then you know it's an old Pizza Hut.
99% visible.
And then there's the roof, which often has oversized trapezoidal awnings, and where they all connect at the top is this big hump that just shoots into the air. The whole thing looks like a lid for the building, or a hat. Actually, when I was a kid, I thought hut and hat meant the same thing. Thank you, Pizza Hut.
Now, Pizza Huts don't all look like
I
this.
thought a
Franchise
hot
owners
dog
have a
and
lot
hot
of freedom
meant the
in
same
how they're
thing. I
supposed
thought
to
it was
look.
Pizza Hut.
Not every
Like,
Pizza
I
Hut
don't
has
want
the
my
lid
pizza
roof
cold, I want it
and the
hot.
trapezoid features, and some might be more distinctive than others. But there's still enough commonality in Pizza Huts that once you've seen one, you can easily identify any other.
In fact, the Pizza Hut School of Architecture is so distinctive that even when a Pizza Hut goes under and gets converted into a different business, you can still totally tell it used to be a Pizza Hut.
In every town across the world,
they're all
there
the
used to
same.
be a Pizza Hut, and most of them are still standing, and most of them are not still Pizza Huts. And so it's this image that we just all have, and we're all so familiar with.
Okay, Mike is definitely overstating it here. Not every town in the world has a former Pizza Hut. And I couldn't get numbers on whether or not the majority of the old school
See
trapezoidal
that?
window style Pizza
I'm gonna
Huts
get
are still
on Parkway
active Pizza
East
Huts.
and go
But the fact
downtown,
remains,
guys.
there is something really funny and a little sad, but mostly funny about seeing a former Pizza Hut get turned into something else.
The satirical newspaper The Onion thought so too. They once had a headline that read, "You can tell Area Bank used to be a Pizza Hut."
If the Onion thinks it's funny too, I'm validated.
And so Mike Nielsen did the only logical thing to do when you get obsessed with something. He started a blog. And his blog is called
Used to be a Pizza Hut, which is a blog about the current uses of former Pizza Huts.
It is a
Oh, that's
global atlas of
crazy.
buildings
So they
that
went
used to
from
be Pizza Huts.
Pittsburgh
I can't defend it,
directions.
so I'll just go ahead and say,
to a
yep,
place
that's what I've been doing with
about
some of my
blogs
spare
that used to
time.
be a
He even
Pizza
coined a
Hut.
word for them.
I guess they're up baths.
You know, what you get when you abbreviate used to be a Pizza Hut, UTBAPH. Though I don't think Mike had ever said it out loud.
Up bath? Does that sound right? Up bath. I mean, that sounds horrendous, but
weird.
I guess that's just what it spells out to be. I should have done a better backronym. I should have thought of something that could spell out something really cool.
Mike started documenting baths around Pennsylvania, like Fat Pocket Pond in North Versailles.
Oh my gosh, I just passed
trapezoidal
that.
windows done up in a
I just passed it. It was
tailored
green.
print.
There's the Sweet
Pretty
Basil's
soon,
up in
he started getting
Shippensville.
submissions from across the U.S. and from Australia and New Zealand. Through this data set, Mike was able to chart some trends.
Sometimes there's still pizza restaurants, which I think makes sense too. They probably had pizza ovens in them that maybe stuck around.
There's Soprano's Pizzeria in York, Pennsylvania, and La Porchetta, Auckland, New Zealand.
There are even cases of Domino's Pizza moving into baths.
The gall!
And then there's a class of non-pizza restaurants.
Mexican and Asian restaurants, generally Chinese restaurants.
Chinese Hut in Toronto, Ontario.
Souvlaki Hut
great.
in Dandenong, Australia.
The structures that house these businesses all began life unmistakably as Pizza Huts.
But there are some more interesting ones. Well, I think one of the most popular posts on the blog is the Des Moines Police Traffic Unit.
On that entry, Mike writes, and I quote, "We We all love the idea of the police chief telling all the cops week after week that if they don't get their act together and get traffic violations under control, they will have to work at a Pizza Hut. And then the mayor coming in and breaking the news that they would indeed all be working in a Pizza Hut. Evidence room in the cooler, interrogations happening in the booths, secretaries playing tabletop Pac-Man instead of solitaire. That is how I picture this place, and I love it.
There's a funeral home in Australia that is in a former Pizza Hut.
Olsen's Funerals in Revesby, New South Wales.
And the crown jewel of all Hut baths, Brisbane, Australia's Chaos Adult Concepts. Chaos Concepts are spelled with K's.
It was an adult bookstore and it had all the windows kind of boarded up. You know, as adult bookstores tend to.
Though I'm guessing most adult bookstores don't have to have their window coverings cut into trapezoids. Now, I should say that Mike doesn't have any particular affinity for Pizza Hut. Sure, he went there as a kid, ate some personal pan pizzas, played some tabletop Pac-Man, drank Pepsi out of translucent red plastic cups.
Oh my gosh.
But it's not like he's nostalgic. He just thought Hut baths were funny.
I'm a pretty easily amused kind of guy. And so I thought it was funny, but I think a lot of things are funny.
But I think it's more than funny. Mike's project points to the fact that there just aren't too many companies whose very name describes their own signature brand of mass-produced architecture that they themselves inhabit.
Although Pizza Hut never meant for architecture to be the focus of their brand, at least not at first.
Pizza Hut was founded in 1958 in Wichita, Kansas. It was actually founded by two brothers who were students at Wichita State University. Then with that, 56 years later, it's grown into the world's largest pizza company with more than 14,000 restaurants around the world.
Doug Turfer is the public relations director of Pizza Hut. He says that when Pizza Hut's founders, the brothers Frank and Dan Carney, bought their first building, they got a sign that only had room for 8 letters.
It had room for pizza on top, but it only had room for 3 characters or 3 letters underneath that.
And any Scrabble player knows that there are really only so many 3-letter words.
Pizza Dad, Pizza Sad, Pizza Eel.
And they kind of looked at the shape of their building and thought, well, it kind of looks like a hut, so maybe we call it Pizza Hut.
So if they had 4 letters, maybe it would have been called Pizza Shed.
Yeah.
Piece of shit.
Pizza Zone, pizza something like that.
No, the original Pizza Hut is still around, though not in operation.
It's in Hut Bath.
It's been moved to the campus of the founders' alma mater, Wichita State.
Just outside their School of Entrepreneurialism.
The first Pizza Hut is commemorated with a plaque.
And if not for that plaque, you'd have no idea what it is. It just looks like a tiny brick house, area trapezoid anywhere. Pizza Hut's signature look came later. That was the work of an architect, a friend and classmate of the Carney brothers.
A guy by the name of Richard Burke.
Burke wanted $32,000 to do the design. The Carneys counteroffered with $100 per Pizza Hut to subsequently open. Burke accepted and created a lot of the features that we can now recognize today, irrefutably, as Pizza Huts.
And from there, Pizza Hut's architecture and their corporate image became intertwined.
And so the Carneys and their franchisees began lining the American landscape with hut after hut after hut. But in their ascendancy, Pizza Hut couldn't, or simply wouldn't imagine a time when the people would not come out in droves to enjoy a personal pan pizza or a zesty breadstick. As market trends shifted away from the dining experience and on to delivery, many Pizza Huts closed. And as their trapezoidal windows went dark and their roof humps rose up over empty parking lots, it was as if the company had littered the world with monuments to its own decline.
It reminds you that there used to be Pizza Huts everywhere and that there aren't anymore. We see the old Pizza Huts laying around, sort of the dead carcasses along the road.
And now, Pizza Hut's architectural legacy is one that will remind passers-by of the company's failure to thrive in every single place it ever failed to thrive.
But Doug Turfer of Pizza Hut, he thinks that Hut baths are a triumph.
We're pretty proud of the fact that our business became so recognizable that you can just look at a building and recognize that even as it got turned into something and then maybe even turned over into something else again, that when you just look at it, people know that used to be a Pizza Hut. That's really cool stuff.
I have to say, I think I'm with Doug on this one. Yes, the hubris of Pizza Hut is the stuff of great tragedy. But this is not a story about failure. It's a story about hope, about what what can be reclaimed, about the possibilities for what might emerge out of what couldn't have ever been dreamed up from the outset.
A mollusk dies, and a hermit crab moves into its shell.
But Pizza Hut is actually curbing the rise of baths. In the late 1990s and early aughts, the company shifted towards a carry-out and delivery model. Today, about half the Pizza Huts in the U.S. operate out of generic glass box-looking structures.
No trapezoids, no sloped roofs. They don't stand out.
In fact, a newer style Pizza Hut near my apartment just went out of business. And if I hadn't ever seen it in operation, there'd be no way to know what it once was. Now that I've seen the next generation of faceless used-to-be Pizza Huts, I think that if Pizza Hut phases out their signature buildings, it will be a huge mistake. Because Pizza Hut has achieved a level of greatness here. I mean, how many other structures have there ever been in
Back here to where my favorite crabapples are growing. This parking lot, this building in Wexford. And I just realized that there's not just one of these Dolga apple trees, crabapple trees, there's two of them. There's at least two of them. This one's loaded. This is the original one, I think. And right across the road here is another one. These crabapples are pretty good. And there's just so many of them, it's crazy. There's some crabapples. Just a small fraction of what's on the tree.
Try open them up again, and then you have a